Welcome to the Let's Grow podcast, where we explore the highs and lows of entrepreneurship with some of the most successful and inspiring local business leaders in our communities. Each episode, we sit down with a guest who has taken the leap into entrepreneurship, whether that is starting a company from scratch, taking over the family business, buying somebody's portfolio, or just pivoting from a traditional career path. We dive into their stories, their strategies, their secrets, their lessons learned, uncovering the secrets to their success and the obstacles that they overcome along the way. Join us as we learn from the best and discover what it takes to grow a business and thrive as an entrepreneur. Today we're sitting down with Daniel Borden with the Daniel Borden Insurance Agency. So sit back and get ready so that we can grow together. What's going on, Daniel? How are you today?
Doing good, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing good. So let's just dive into it. Tell me a little bit about your background. I know you're Daniel Borden Insurance Agency, but before that, where are you from? How did you get into it?
How did I get into it? Yeah, that's a great question. So originally, I grew up in Southern California. Family moved here to Texas when I was about 15.
Okay.
And stayed here on purpose. I love it here. But yeah, I went to a local college and actually studied music, ironically. But
music?
Yeah, I studied music. I love music, but I've always had a mind for business. And so I was looking actually into ways where my success was driven by helping other people be successful.
Yeah.
And landed on insurance, because with insurance, it's all based off of building a team of people who can help customers. So to me, that's what drew me to it. Was I just would have responsibility of helping a lot of people with their careers to succeed. Okay. And the better I get at that, then the better the business does, and the better customers are taken care of.
Yeah. So let's go into the music. So you studied music. Were you like a band kid, orchestra, growing up into high school?
Yeah, I studied piano classically. So which I guess is another reason why I got into insurance. Was I was like, it's a very patient job. Piano, it requires a lot of patience when you're learning. But I studied piano and guitar, jazz, classical, blues, rock, all the genres. I got my degree in piano, but my heart was in guitar and multi-instrumentalist. So I learned to stay focused for several hours at a time. And so I was like, I got to use this somewhere. And I was like, that's what drew me to it.
So what did you learn getting your degree in music that you've implemented into your insurance agency?
Definitely. So when you're like learning a piece, there's so many different aspects of it. And as you're learning, you're basically failing forward the whole time.
Okay.
So like that's how you get good at a song, is you have to just accept the fact that you're going to play it wrong 1,000 times to get to where you can play it right.
Yeah.
Or if you play it right the first time, you're going at 1/10 of the speed of what the song actually is. So you have zero fulfillment in those moments.
Yeah.
And realizing all the work it takes to build a training system for new hires, to build an infrastructure where any customer could call at any time and there's an answer for everything. That's not sexy. That's not attractive from the get-go.
Yeah.
But once you have it built, now you have a song.
Okay.
So that's kind of how they relate.
So did you have any other jobs growing up or through college before you got into insurance?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I was a music teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, a private music teacher through college. That was my side hustle. And then I just took a year, worked at a restaurant, and was just Googling, researching just different entrepreneurial opportunities. And the biggest thing I was looking for was one that could scale. In my mind, I was like, I need to be able to add a couple zeros on the revenue and income more than what I grew up around.
And that's what I tell people all the time, right? As we're business owners and we're building businesses, our friends, our family, they all come and they want a discount, or they want something for free, or they want this, and it's just like, guys, we're building a business. Like, we don't have that opportunity. We're not a nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a nonprofit that I started that I get to now utilize as I built my career, my wealth, and we give back to nonprofits, but we're not a nonprofit. And I tell people that all the time. You have to have that mindset as a business owner, because people will take advantage of you, right?
Right.
And we want to build for our families, for our, long-term wealth. And requires adding those zeros to the income and to the revenue that we're generating and whatnot.
You do. I heard someone say that if you don't like your problems, usually it's actually better to get bigger problems, because if you can solve bigger problems, you have bigger solutions. And so to that point, it's like if I ever see myself with the business hitting a wall, I go, well, I'm probably not thinking too big.
Yeah.
I probably need to think bigger. And so that's where I had learned that, fortunately. Honestly, it was YouTube University. I was watching something, and I was like, I'm going to implement this. So that's when I started looking for what's something where I could really scale, where my problems are 100xing, not just 5xing.
You know, and I tell people all the time, YouTube University is the most underutilized, even though it's out there, right? But people use it for different things, right? For music, for, podcasts, for learning, for BSing, right? I mean, there's just so much stuff on that.
You can learn a lot from that too, though.
But it's just so underutilized a lot of times. And I think that YouTube, even though it's the number 2 search engine, I still think that it's being that much underutilized. Like, you can, yes, AI is here, right? And now people are gravitating to that, but no, don't. I mean, AI is a framework that people can use, but you still want to go to YouTube to learn how to do X, Y, Z, or, just get better at something. I mean, it's still there.
Yeah, and AI is going to, in their answer, they're going to have a bunch of the resources are YouTube videos. Yeah.
And what's crazy, though, is people, yes, I use AI. I love it, right? ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. I mean, Google owns Gemini. Google owns YouTube. They're not going to let a ChatGPT or even Claude come and take over. Yes, they're now, if you look at things, Google's now search bar is AI driven. Right? I mean, they are going to stay at the top. So, what is maybe one challenge okay, let's start here. Let's back up. What does your team consist of? How many people, what kind of structure does it look like?
So it ranges. There are a lot of times where I help someone get from point A to point B and catapult them in their career. So it ranges from anywhere from 5 to 10 folks at a time, or a combination of full-time and part-time, mostly in office, but I've just revamped my office structure. So we have the ability, it's actually pretty cool with this whole screen camera thing. So if you're working from home, you can see the whole team, and you've got the audio, so you could literally just wave and say, hey, and everyone in the office can look at you, and so the communication is better than a normal, work from home is really nice, but sometimes there can be some seclusion in that. So that way they still have that team culture. But yeah, I mean, with insurance, we're a sales organization, but we also manage everyday risk. So we're not just selling policies. We look for what are your goals, what are the gaps from where you are now, and what do you need to do to get there. And sometimes it is save money on your insurance. Sometimes it's we got to bring up some stuff that the other company didn't bring up about your foundation if there's a slow leak or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, this endorsement is just one line on your home policy, but it's capping you at X amount of dollars versus the average claim for that is, 10x that. And so we have those hard conversations. We help people plan, not just with the budget of car insurance. I think that's what everyone thinks about these days. But is like, well, what is the actual, if something goes wrong, what's the consequence? Do you have the right policy? Because you can save money when it's smart, and then you can spend that extra $20-$30 when it's actually getting you something good.
So why do you think people's mindset is? Because, being in real estate, when we help people, and it's time for the mortgage company to shop for insurance, a lot of buyers or even the lender, sometimes they're like, okay, we need to look for the cheapest. And yes, it's going to help their payment be a little bit lower. But why do you think people's mindsets, the regular public, the consumers who you're insuring is, I only want the cheapest? Why do they not look at it from a vantage point of, like you just mentioned, the risk?
Yeah.
You're undercovered. Are you okay with the risk of the potential that what if something happens? Why do you think people just always want the cheapest?
I think it boils down to education. It's just not, Yeah, I mean, in high school, did you have any class on insurance?
Nope.
No? I mean, when I was a kid, like the biggest money thing was like, here's how you write a check. It's like, well, thanks for that. How often do you write a check?
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, education, because if you're educated, you can make an educated decision. So when people are making an uneducated decision, and where it's only like price is a part of the conversation, but if that's the only part, and you're not factoring in, well, what is it buying you, right? There's reliability of companies. Like there's a difference between a random insurance company and a Fortune 500 or a Fortune 50 company.
Yeah.
You know, which I happen to be a part of. And so you have the financial stability of one company versus another. I talk to customers all the time. I talked to one yesterday, and he went to send me his policy, and he's like, oh, I guess my company sold to another company.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, imagine if you were in the middle of a claim and then that happened, right? Now, I'm not saying we're not the cheapest. A lot of times my team actually saves thousands on policies, like more often than not. But what we find is it usually ends up being a combination of we save some money here or there, we fix a couple items here or there, and then you're just in an overall better position. It takes 15 minutes, that whole slogan, right? But what we do is we don't just send you a quote in 15 minutes. We talk about those key points, like what do you want covered? Boom, boom, boom. Talk about that, and now you can decide.
Yeah. So, okay, I heard one insurance agent one time say, that there's really no such thing as full coverage. And you kind of sparked that because you're like, okay, well, what do you want covered? And that's what you'll do. So is there, the mainstream media or, for years and decades, people are like, oh, you need full coverage. Oh, no, you need liability or whatever, right? And then people get into wrecks. So, like, what is the difference between those two? Like,
there's a big difference. Yeah. So full coverage. The problem with full coverage is it sounds like you're fully covered. So there's coverages that cover your vehicle for whatever your contract says, which tends to be actual cash value, but you always got to look at your contract, right? For your vehicle, if it's damaged, either hail damage, vandalism, whatever your contract says, right? Or if you hydroplane, you hit a telephone pole, right? But full coverage, what if you didn't hit a telephone pole? What if you hit, unfortunately, a pedestrian? Well, if you don't set your liability, and some people have liability only, but there's limits to liability. If you don't set that limit at high enough of an amount, and you cause more than that amount of damage to someone, loss of wages, injury, you name it, right? Whatever an attorney can go after. So I don't even need to make a list. Then the liability of the insurance company is up to that limit, and then you're above that.
Yeah.
Reversing the situation, someone hits you without insurance. It's the same thing with those limits. I had a customer who his mom was with him, and they were in an accident, uninsured motorist. And before the accident, she was elderly, but she could take care of herself. After the accident, because of complications, she needs assisted care. Well, that pushed the cost well above what the other drivers, what they could cover. That's where your coverages kick in, but what are your limits at? Are they enough to cover if something like that happens? And in his case it was, we were able to cover it.
So in today's world, and it's sad because I always tell people we are in I'm a sue you type of economy.
Yep.
Everybody wants to sue somebody, right? Just because in our judicial system, that's just a whole other conversation, right?
Yeah.
I don't want this podcast could take hours, and I could give Joe and all the big names a run for their money because it's a crazy topic. But how does one know what limits to get if we're in that type of environment where everybody wants to sue somebody, right? I read somewhere the other day that I guess, or somebody mentioned that you should have coverages where if you DoorDash a lot, right? People, you receive DoorDash because you don't want to go out and eat, and you're always getting these orders where a DoorDash driver slipped and fell and sued the homeowner.
Yep. Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
that's kind of crazy to think about.
it is.
And I guarantee you, people watching this episode right now don't realize that kind of stuff. So how do you, as an insurance agent, educate people or get that message out there for the consumers to know that you need tons of different types of coverages.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to stop doing certain things like getting your food door dashed all the time, right?
No, it is education, and that's the thing is there's going to be people out there that say this is the formula, and it's a personal choice because it's risk tolerance. You can have the state minimum requirement and risk it all yourself. No one's saying you have to do that.
So the state puts a limit, or
Texas has a limit for liability. They don't care if you have the other coverages on the policy. Now, they might require you sign a waiver if you don't have some of those. But if you're okay paying for stuff out of pocket, hey, that's fine. That's why it's an education thing, but it's a decision that you got to make. And if you don't know the consequences of the decision, that's the issue. Because for some folks, it's like, well, we've got some NFL players that live in our area, right? Well, what if the pedestrian, let's go back to that story, what if it was an NFL player and you hit their arm and they're a quarterback and then they sue you for, okay, right? Like you have to understand, like how many quarterbacks are walking down your street, right? Some people are going to want to have that coverage. If your net worth is at a certain point where you're like, an attorney could probably go after me for this amount, you might want to cover that. You might want to cover that plus times your income, right? But it is a choice, and knock on wood, right? That doesn't happen. But the whole thing is, if we all knew something wouldn't happen, we just wouldn't buy the insurance.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back to your insurance agency. So when did you first get licensed?
When did I first get licensed? That was about 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, coming up on 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, you got into insurance. What made you want to build out a team where you're consistently between 5 or 10, agents under you or whatnot? Like, where does one go? If somebody says, I'm thinking about getting into insurance today, do they want to be a solo insurance agent? Do they want to be a part of a team? Or do they want to grow a team? Like, what was your mind starting off to where it is today?
Yeah. I use this phrase from one of my coaches. We say it all the time. It depends. It depends on what your goals are. So for me personally, scaling and seeing, 5 to 10, I've just scratched the surface. I started my business 5.5 years ago. Approximately 5.5 years ago. So I'm at this size. I want to 10x that. But that's my personal goal. And that's my personal, really, it's a challenge to myself to develop as a leader where I've got, instead of 5, I have 50 people going, I'm that, like, my family's taken care of. I can achieve my dreams working here. Yeah. With a healthy work-life balance. That's my personal goal. I have another friend. He's more of like he's a single agent, writes policies, answers the phone every time, and it's like there are times where I'm like, my team knows more about you than I do. Yeah. And I know a lot about my customers. And it's like, but then I ask my team and it's like, man, they know this stuff so well, and that's why I can put my full confidence behind my team.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's right, as business owners, it's like you said, what are our goals? But some people are comfortable receiving X. Some don't want the responsibilities of being a true business owner, right? Where they're scaling and growing team, because it's a lot. You got overhead, you got salaries, you have to cover yourself, you have to train, you have to educate your own team, right? Yeah. You have to push them, you have to motivate them, you have to coach them. Like, there's all of these facets underneath of being a business owner when you're scaling, where a lot of times your focus is more on them than your own personal production, right? That feeds your family. Or when you're scaling, like in real estate, when I grow a team, sometimes I put so much into my employees, into my agents, that it takes away from my personal, and my personal production goes down, right? Yeah. But that's why some people want to scale. It's, okay, there are money-hungry business owners out there, and all they care about is the financials. But then there's some that, like you said, you want to catapult somebody and say, you know what? I helped them get there. That was my fulfillment from that.
Yeah, and if part of your compensation is freedom of your time for generating multiple lifelong careers for people, and that's the reward for me, like that's worth working those extra hours for. But then there's that you got to take the wins and the losses. And a lot of times, if you're working for yourself, like let's say self-employed, and you're trying to shift into business owner, a lot of the self-employed sales or success metrics, right? There's wins and losses, and let's say you have 20% of all your attempts, you succeed, right? Well, as you switch into more of a business owner role, where you're not the boots on the ground, getting those boots on the ground, you have to accept the fact that you're probably going to have maybe a similar percentage of success getting those boots on the ground. And that's where I see a lot of folks get stuck, is they'll try to scale the team, and not everyone is cut out for it. And then they're like scratching their head going, wait, I thought this was supposed to work. And either they lose trust and they go and just do it themselves and they just give up on the scale idea, or they complain and they stay there, or you learn how to go, hey, this is part of the game. It's you got to find someone where they're thriving in that career. It's not for everybody. Real estate, insurance, you name it, car sales.
How do you coach your team, or even if you're talking to other business owners, when we're in times like today where the economy sucks, right? And it sucks because inflation, gas prices, heck, every time I go eat with my family of four, because now my boys, they're at the age where they eat like a grown man.
You're a family ate with them.
Yeah, and it's like, heck, we can go to freaking, Subway and grab a sandwich, and it's going to cost us $30 or $40 right off the bat, right? If we go to a nicer restaurant, it's easily $100. And a lot of times, business owners who are starting, or like your team, people like that are on your team, how do you coach them and say, it's going to be okay? You need to just do X, Y, Z and keep pushing to honestly make more money, right? I mean, there's two ways. You either get scared and you cut a ton of expenses and you change your lifestyle, or you push yourself to make more money.
Bigger problems. If you have money, it doesn't solve all your problems, but you can show up in style, But it does solve some problems. And but as far as like dealing with inflation and those struggles with a team who's trying to make it, let's say they're just starting off, right? And it's like they haven't written a single policy yet. Well, I will show them like the biggest thing. The reason why anyone would be concerned is if the work causes burnout and is not sustainable. Otherwise, no one would hesitate, right? Well, why wouldn't we all do it? If the water's cold, I don't know if I want to jump in. So, but if you show them that there's a way to do their job, which there is, where you don't have burnout. The way I coach is I use the word integrity. We normally think of that as honesty, but I use it as you're integrated, meaning your standards here, yes, they're high standards, but that means that for you to be integrated, what are your standards at home? What are your standards when you look in the mirror at yourself? If you're taking care of our customers at this level, you need to understand that that's who you are. You're that and more. You're so much more than that. Right? So, but if you don't hold that standard, you will burn out holding a higher standard at work. And so it's a challenge, and I tell people it's a culture of growth when you start this. But if you do that, your whole life will change, first off. But yes, the money will follow.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, let's talk about win the day. What is win the day for you, your team, and can other business owners use a similar process or procedure like that for their own industry, regardless if it's a plumbing company, a real estate agent, somebody selling flowers? Like, what is win the day?
Win the day you can define, and there's a lot of podcasts and stuff about it too, where it's like, oh, you got to drink this tea and you got to stare at the sun for 20 minutes, like just some sort of ritual, right? Well, in actual work, like, because we spend 8 hours a day on the job, right, for my team. So for them to win the day, I have for my sales team and my customer care team a point system of activities. And what's interesting is it's not just production, it's activity. to show them, look, we're not always gonna look. We quote people sometimes. We can't, maybe the condition or the location of the house, it's not eligible with our specific product. We're not going to write always. But what's your activity? So they hit certain point metrics with activity. It's impossible to fail when you do that.
Yeah.
So they have a point system. Customer care has a point system, from helping people with claims to price explanations to doing a review like the sales folks do. They go, hey, like, I'm seeing a couple things on here maybe we missed last time, or there might be some, I just want you to look at this. And they get points for that. And it's education, and we might not make any changes, but that's how they can win the day.
Do you have where in your point system, in the win the day point system for your agents, for your team, whether it's customer service agents or whatever, do you have where they're practicing their skills? Because like for us, like I have a checklist. That's all it is, right? It's a routine. Yeah. It's a checklist. It's a ritual where it's like, okay, I do skills and practicing, right? Where I'm constantly learning for myself on certain things that I'm always doing so I can continue to do them at a higher level. Yeah. Then it's maybe prospecting and calling and doing the lead generation stuff. Mm-hmm. Then maybe it's servicing the clients on a part. Then maybe it's the self-growth, right? Where I'm, working out, or like, do you also have on there for them where they, part of winning the day is, hey guys, you also got to work on your skills. You got to practice. You got to do certain things.
Yeah. So, well, similar, but in my agency, it's not an option.
Yeah.
So it's not part of the win the day because it's on the calendar and it's at 10:15 to 11 o'clock every single day. So that time is that time where, unless the phone is ringing, my team is learning a new product, role playing, practicing, talking about challenges. Yeah, so I also, when I do the win the day, it factors in the fact that they are doing that during that time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's built in.
Do y'all do it together, or is everybody just responsible for handling or learning about that certain product or that role play?
A little bit of both, yeah. Because sometimes I'll have someone who's in the middle of a farm and ranch policy and someone who's in the middle of a commercial policy, someone who's writing the life insurance for a business owner. So if they pass away, their other business owner or their spouse, they can do a buyout situation that's uncomplicated.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, all right, well, here we go. You check this out, you check this out, you check this out. And other times we'll go, hey, let's do that, and then we'll study them all together.
So we got a couple minutes. What is one thing you can tell somebody watching here if they have been thinking about getting their insurance license? Mm-hmm. What is some advice for them?
If you're looking to get into business, give me a call and I can talk to you more about starting your own insurance agency.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to join, to at least sell, there's some great websites out there that have like a guaranteed pass rate, like examfx.com. And we use that one a lot. SDC is pretty good.
Yeah.
And you'll spend a couple $100, and but I would say personally, I like the advising and sales side versus adjusting. Obviously, that's my business, but I have some people, should I do one or the other?
Yeah.
I would. Cool. I'll just always say that forever.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been great. Real quick, 30 seconds. Tell people how they can get a hold of you and what all products do you offer.
Yeah, so Daniel Borden Insurance Agency, you can find me at getborden.com, 469-270-5743. And we do auto, home, life, health, business, commercial. We're here for pretty much everything you need. So
awesome.
Looking forward to help.
Well, there you go, guys. Man, I appreciate you being on. And tune in next week as we host another business owner. And if there's some challenges that you're facing, put it in the comments, right? We're welcome. We're going to be answering those in the comments and whatnot. But till next time, let's grow.